Hello there, me again. It's week number 3. So this week I actually posted last night along with week number 2, and that's actually my goal moving forward is to post 2 weeks at a time until all 8 weeks are posted. Because I do realize that some of us do need to work ahead due to work schedules and so forth. But I don't want to post too many at one time because students have sometimes the tendency to work too far ahead. And one of those things I've learned a long time ago is that frequently we need as part of the learning process, let things kind of stew and percolate in our thinking process, in our mind and body and spirit, and to help us make sense of what we're learning, especially if it's new information. So you will begin to see posts being or lessons being posted, generally 2 at a time. And this weekend was an example of that. So week 3, that's due March 30th. And let's dig in a tad. This particular week covers chapters 6, 7, and 8. Chapter 6 is on cocaine, amphetamines, nicotine. Well, not nicotine, but stimulants. Sorry. Chapter 7 is on nicotine. But we're beginning to see a resurgence nationally and certainly in the Southeast with stimulant abuse and misuse, or misuse and abuse, I should probably say. And this follows, we're not surprised. We saw this in the 1970s, we saw it in the 90s, and we're seeing this again. What has happened is we did a pretty good job in most states constricting and reducing the supply of prescription medication for individuals. And for many folks who suffer from prescription medication misuse and abuse or addiction, if those substances are no longer available, the most common substance that can be used tends to be your stimulants of this cocaine, methamphetamine category. And again, we knew this statistical curve was coming. We've saw it in the past. We're not surprised. It's actually very reminiscent to what I experienced in the 1990s when I first entered the field with stimulant, cocaine, specifically crack usage, transforming into meth usage, and also beginning to see in the late 90s, early 2000s, prescription drugs beginning to identify themselves. So this is not a surprise. It's a pretty important chapter. I would spend some time thinking about chapter 6 because this is a challenge. This has been in our society for decades and decades and decades, but it's beginning to, in terms of use patterns, rise back up again. Chapter 7 is on nicotine, tobacco use, and this is actually one of the more fun chapters in the textbook that I tend to pick focus areas for every week. And this week, out of these 3 chapters, we'll be focusing on tobacco, nicotine, something we may be, some of you may be current users of tobacco or other nicotine products, or know someone who is. And it's certainly a significant issue for our states. So we're going to have a chance to be involved in some really neat online activities related to nicotine that I'll share with you in just a few minutes. And chapter 8 is caffeine. Caffeine is near and dear to most of us. I mean, even myself, I have a Coke here that I was eating or drinking along with my lemon cake a few minutes ago. So I was sharing with someone at the office a couple of days ago that somehow every morning my car finds its way to the local Chick-fil-A on my way to work for an iced coffee, which has a high level of caffeine in it, and I don't even think about it. My car just suddenly turns. And many of us may have some challenges related to our caffeine intake, how much we drink, or eat products that contain caffeine. And some of those progressions have existed for a long time, as in my case. So we'll be looking at caffeine and the history of caffeine and some of those chemical properties. And most students really do enjoy this particular lesson, or chapter 8 lesson, that is. Chapter 7 in nicotine is I'll be honest with you, somewhat challenging for folks sometimes because it's very personal in a variety of ways. But I do ask you to, join us in this learning process. If you look, again, Chapter 7, in week number 3, we will be covering Chapters 6, 7, and 8 out of your textbook. Again, we do have learning objectives. I will be assigning some outside readings or activities. This should actually say activities probably. That bothers me so much. I'm going to actually change that on the fly here with you. Start looking at some of the outside activities I have included for this particular week. I have 2, and they're somewhat large in nature and will take you some time to go through, but they're really, really important. The first one is an online webinar my agency held back in the fall related to tobacco use and youth. And we hosted a group from New Hampshire called Dover Youth to Youth. And Dover Youth to Youth is a youth advocacy group, or it is, meaning the program trains youth on effective ways to become involved in their community with a particular social topic that's causing harm to the community. And Dover is well respected nationally. I know the folks individually. They've been in North Carolina. I've met them so many times. I've been with them. They use youth in their training of adults to teach adults how to teach these skills to other youth. And on the webinar, you will see youth teaching some of these skills. So in the webinar that we held, we actually we'll hold 6 of these this year, and you're welcome to view any of these online on my website for free, and I'll share some information about that in later weeks. But we will be hearing from Dover Youth to Youth on the topic of tobacco and how youth can get involved in reducing the rate, amounts, and availability of tobacco in their communities. So that's what this Dover Youth to Youth outside activity is. I just visited the website. When you click on this link, the dovery2y.org, which is this, I would also encourage you to poke around this website, look at some of the Facebook posts and YouTube videos, and if any of you are interested in working with youth, working in the prevention setting, the public health setting, even the school setting, this is really just a great program to help train your youth to be involved in substance use issues, and not only substance use issues, but any societal issue that is important to your community. If you want to talk with me about Dover, that you're really, really interested, let me know. I'll be happy to share with you. But the actual webinar I do want to talk with you about or have you watch is available via this first link. If you click on the link, it will take you to an external page, which is one of the pages in my training catalog for North Carolina in the prevention field. This webinar was hosted from the Dover folks. We were in North Carolina. They were in New Hampshire, and we delivered the webinar to about 50 people or so. And your target audience were substance use prevention professionals in the field. And you can read the description of what we talked about and the objectives and so forth. And there's also a PowerPoint deck in a PDF you can download and see the slides. For example, I will do that for us here. It's currently downloading. So here's the slide deck that you can actually download and take a look at that was reviewed as part of the webinar. When you're ready to review the webinar, you can just click play and watch the webinar. The webinar is on YouTube. That we post all of our material on YouTube. So you can watch it on your phone or so forth. Let me turn Amanda down. If you want to watch it on YouTube itself, you can for a bigger screen or on your phone or so forth. Just follow the links. This webinar is 51 minutes long, so it is going to take you some time, so prepare in advance. but I do believe you will be really interested. So let's go back. I have another major activity for you. It's outside. Is one of our responsibilities in my program was to build the training program, the online training program, and we've built the face-to-face training program that is delivered to merchants that sell tobacco within North Carolina. And so we have two ways of delivery. One method is face-to-face, and usually the North Carolina Alcohol Law Enforcement Agency. They're kind of like the state police, but they focus on alcohol and law enforcement, or alcohol and tobacco enforcement, gambling, and so forth. Your states have probably a similar branch that specialize in those related activities. We're building a face-to-face training where the officer actually trains the store employee about tobacco law and tobacco sales to minors in the store. And we also created a training that is online that allows individuals to complete the training and be certified within the state as being a store employee that completed the training. Now this is focused on North Carolina, but 80% of it applies to any state because it was based on the federal law that was current and active until December. Then something happened in December. On December 20th, federal law changed that said you have to be 21 years old to purchase tobacco and vaping products now. So it's actually illegal to sell tobacco and vaping products to someone under 21. Before December 20th, the law was 18, the federal law. Now, many states have changed that in advance. Virginia, for example, I live in Virginia. We changed our law to 21 in the summertime. But I work in North Carolina. The North Carolina law was still 18, and technically is still 18 because the general statute has not been changed yet. It's still pending deliberations. So this training was designed when the North Carolina law was 18. But I don't want you to get kind of fixated or mixed up with the ages right now, or the fact that the majority of you, or if not all of you, are outside of North Carolina. Why? Because we spend most of our time in this course talking about federal law and expectations and the impact of tobacco on the body and the impact of tobacco use on the adolescent and on youths and so forth. So as part of the lesson or weekly lesson this week, I want you to work your way through this content. You don't have to take the certification quiz at the end. Please don't, to be honest. There's some interactivity, there's some interactions you can participate in, there's some sample questions you can complete as practice questions, but at the very, very end, where it says training quiz, there's no point in taking that. Please don't. But I do want you to work your way through the material. And we have a lot of videos that will be really beneficial for you to watch that talks about the legal standard, the health effects, the importance of selling or not selling tobacco products, specifically not selling tobacco products to minors and why that's important, and the importance, if you do sell, some of those legal consequences within the state. Again, you're not in North Carolina, you may be in Kentucky, Virginia, or West Virginia, generally speaking. If anybody's from North Carolina, I would love to hear from you, to be honest. But I do want you to work your way through the material. Again, this is material that store employees will see, within North Carolina at least, if they work for stores that sell tobacco. This is pretty important stuff. We're in the midst of revising this entire website, to be honest, translating it into Spanish, updating to the Tobacco 21, increasing ADA compliance, which is American with Disabilities Act compliance, and all types of other issues to make sure that we're meeting the requirements of stores and employees inside the state. So again, this is another one of the side activities examples that I want us to be able to participate in throughout the class. Because one of my goals is not only for you to learn the material, material from the text, but also expose you every week to materials that you may be able to use currently, right now, in your professional work, or you will be able to in the future, and make some of those connections between the material, the academic material, and the real life material. Let's go back to the Blackboard. Again, we have two discussion boards, Week 3 discussion boards. One focuses on Dover, and the other on tobacco. The first discussion board asks you what you think about the Dover webinar, and the second one asks you about the tobacco training program and what you think. We have their first short response paper, and you submit your first response paper by clicking on this link and uploading your paper to me. Okay, that's how you submit it. The paper is worth 50 points. Be at least 2 pages, double spaced, no more than 12-point font. One of the reasons I limit the size is it's much harder to write an effective paper and to stay on topic in a really brief amount of time. It takes a lot more practice and skill. If you go beyond 2 pages, I may penalize you. Please don't. Students try to do 2 pages and a half, 3 pages. Don't. I will not look at it. I want you to be as brief as possible, and I start learning how to say what we need to say in really clear manners and methods with appropriate professional English in a way that other folks can understand. Because in the professional practice, you will not have time to write 3 or 4 pages of material to express your ideas, thoughts, and experiences. You will be asked to synthesize those thoughts, experiences, and mission critical topics into brief sources and into brief material sets. So let's try to start practicing some of those skills now. If you do use outside references, and you will have to probably, be brief. I wouldn't use more than 2 references, if that, maybe 1, 2's on average, and make sure to cite those appropriately. I do provide a grading rubric that I will be using to look at your paper. So please make sure to take a look at the grading rubric. It's there for your use. Don't look at the grading rubric after the fact. Look at it before you write the paper, because it tells you what the standards are, okay? So let's see. And here's your mission for the Week 3 paper. Research provides us good evidence that individuals may build a physical dependence on caffeine. Is this a reason to impose any restrictions, warning labels, or controls on caffeine? Conduct research on this topic. Present your research and determine why or why not. So what do you think about caffeine? Should caffeine be a controlled substance after what you've learned from the textbook and your research? And again, attach the paper, upload it, and I will review. I usually grade once a week. So the first week lessons are due tonight, March 15th. So I will grade March 15th materials this week, all at one time. Then week 2, I will grade next week. Week 3, the following week. So I'll always try to stay as current as I can in terms of grading material. I can usually do that pretty well, to be honest, except the weeks that we have short response papers. Sometimes that takes me the entire week to grade. And sometimes I don't post all those grades until after I finish reviewing everybody's papers at one time. Let's go back to Week 3. And we do have 3 quizzes, Chapter 6, Chapter 7, Chapter 8. These quizzes follow the same practices, process, expectations of your Week 1, Week 2 quizzes. Again, I hope this was helpful. I enjoy having these video opportunities with you. I enjoy sharing my odd sense of humor with you. And I look forward for us to continue the conversation. Thanks so much. Bye.